Chapter 3 of Existence, Skylight. A micro-typhoon, a brief howl of horizontal rain, blew in from the Catalina vortex before dawn. Hours later, pavements glistened as pedestrians stepped over detritus, mostly seaweed, plus an occasional unlucky fish or two that got sucked into the funnel. The usual stuff. None of the boats or surfers that gloomcasters expected when the phenomena began. Folks will say anything for ratings. Pessimists keep overplaying the bummer effects of climate change without mentioning any of the good stuff. Tor sniffed, relishing a fresh, almost electric breeze, washed clean of pollutants from Old Town. Others felt it too. Her VR spectacles, tuned to track overt biosigns, accentuated the flush tones of people passing by. Grinning street vendors stepped out from their stalls, murmuring in a dozen refugee tongues, Russian, Farsi, Polish. When they saw that she didn't understand, her translator earpiece hung detached. They switched to gestures. One portly shopkeeper used theatrical flourishes like a stage magician, materializing bouquets of imaginary flowers, all to draw her glance toward a patch of open space, his advertisement display. But Tor wasn't shopping. Her eyes flick-examined several overlayers, trolling for correlations and news stories at street level. Once a pastime that became a vocation, till her cred scores vaulted over all the hungry amateurs and semi-pros out there, scratching to be noticed. No more of that for me, she thought. Now it would be office towers and arranged interviews, politicians, celebrities, innovators, luminatis, all sorts of new leets. No flash pans or sugar-coated surrogates. All because I sniffed some clues and called a posse, burst a local scandal that went global in farky ways, till MediaCorp called and said I'm ready for center frame. Plenty more hot stories loomed, like signs of fresh volcanism in the Wyoming, or the drowning of South Carolina. Were corrupt seawall contractors to blame? Or Senator Crandall Strong's crazed rant during yesterday's campaign stop? Why don't the media mavens unleash their new ace reporter on stuff like that instead of sending me on an extended human interest tour? Could they still be unsure of me? No, don't go there. One thing the public valued more than veracity, Tor knew, was confidence. Assume you're worthy. Take it for granted. Still, with her bags packed and stowed for stage one of her trip across the continent, Tor hankered to prowl the walks and spider bridges one last time, scanning San Diego, the big S, for something newsworthy, a story in pocket before starting her roundabout journey to rebuilt Washington, a distraction to avoid chewing the active elements off her manicure till the embarkation whistle blew, a throaty moan, beckoning passengers to board the ponderously graceful skyship Alberto Santos Dumont. The store owners soon realized that Tor had her specs tuned to omit adverts. Still, they grinned as she passed, crooning compliments in Pan-Slavic or Tagalog or broken English. Tor couldn't help doing a quick self-checkout, murmuring "tsutsu." Subvocal sensors in her collar translated "to see ourselves as others see us." And the inner surface of her specs lit with glimpses and views of her from several angles, crowding the periphery of her percept without blocking the center view Tor needed to walk safely. One image from a penny camera, someone stuck high on a lamppost, looked down at a leggy brunette walking by, her long dark hair streaked with tendrils of ever-changing color, the active strand detectors and eyewear that Tor could deploy if something newsworthy happened. Another Tsusu vista showed her from the ground level, smiling now as she passed a kiosk selling gel kitties, good as mouse catchers, good to play with, good to eat, humane and society approved. In 12 flavors. I'm sorry, that's Humane Society approved in 12 flavors. This image evidently came from the shop owner's specs watching her pass by. It started with Tor's oval face, lingered briefly over her white smile, then caressed downward, appreciating every curve even as she strolled by. Well, it's nice to be noticed in a friendly way. Would she have chosen to be in news if it didn't involve admiration? Even nowadays, when a person's looks were subject to budget and taste, it felt good to make heads turn. Anyway, Tor was depriving no one by moving away. Ever since Awful Day hit Sandiego and a dozen other cities, more Gen Bs and immigrants flooded in, exiles who didn't mind radioactivity a tad above background, not when compensated by sun, surf, and exciting weather that sometimes dropped fish out of the sky. Throw in bargain rate housing, it beat watching snowdrifts grow into glaciers outside Helsinki or Warsaw, or sand dunes cover sucked dry oil wells in the Near East. Enough narcissism. She click erased the Susu views and her own images, accessing other eyes. From a satellite downpick of this area, with the Alberto Santos Dumont bobbing huge at the nearby Zepp port, arsenal ships at the nearby Shelter Island naval base appeared fuzzy according to security protocols, though you could zoom the vessels from 3,470,513 other points of view that Home Secure didn't control. One of those POVs, a cam stuck high above the chewing gum, won a brief auto auction to sell her a panorama stretching from bay to marketplace for 5 millicents. Remarkable only because her stringer AI was programmed to inform her when pick prices hit a new low. Omnipresence spread as the lenses bred and proliferated like insects. All this camera overlap changed news biz. As lying became damn near impossible, the next gen will take it for granted, Tor pondered. But at 28, she recalled when people tried every trick to fabricate images and fancy POV deceits, faking events and alibis, scams made impractical by the modern solution of more witnesses, more cameras, or so went the latest truism. Tor distrusted truisms. Optimists keep forecasting that the more information will make us wiser, more willing to accept when facts prove us wrong. But so far, all it's done is stoke indignation and rage, as Senator Strong illustrated yesterday. Another truism came to mind. You screen, I screen, we all screen for my scream. Immigrants stirred things. The big S music scene was rocky, and manic arts flourished, encouraged by the faint glow surrounding old downtown at night, if you set your specs to notice beta rays. Even morning on the quay was lively as 3 sailors haggled with a smoke artist whose delicate portraits couldn't be reproduced by nanofax or shipped by O-mail. They forked over cash and watched her puff a gel hookah, adding clots of fast congealing haze. A cloudy caricature of fresh-faced young Navy chaps took shape while onlookers sighed. Tor shook her head. This wasn't like her, moodily strolling instead of S-trolling, contemplating, not templating to amuse her fans, musing instead of sifting for stories along her beat, the 10 million blocks of Camino Unreal. Every cubic centimeter above these sidewalks swarmed with position-tagged information, notifications, and animations that existed only in the high planes of IP9 cyberspace. Viewing the world through some vert overlayer, you might see the city transformed into fairy tale castles with leering gargoyles lining the roofs, or everyone overpainted with cartoon mustaches. On one coded level, all clothing would magically seem to vanish, replaced by simulated flesh, while supplying unsuspecting pedestrians with exaggerated enhancements. All by the design of some prurient little snot. On another, post-it tags reported tattletale rumors about any person who walked by, a rich source of leads if you had good AI to sniff out the swill and slander. Anyway, who had time for kids' stuff? Tor's ersatz reality stack was practical, concentrating on essentials, the world's second stratum of texture, as important now as the scent of food and water might have been to distant ancestors, the modern equivalents of a twig cracking, hints of predator and prey. Tor paused at a shop selling vat-grown walking sticks. These could perform a variety of strides and even break into a jog. An out-of-towner, you could tell because he wore lead-lined underwear here in Sandiego, haggled over a bulk order for my sister's store in Duluth, said the tourist, unaware that metal briefs altered the display pattern of his pixel fiber jumpsuit, making him a pot-bellied satire of Superman, underpants on the outside. Waggling fingers and clicking teeth, the shopkeeper quick-scanned the sister's business and credit, then offered his hand. I'll ship in 10 days. The two men shook, their specs recorded. As in villages of old, reputation mattered more than any contract. Only this village spanned the globe. There are times when it's just too big, like when two ambitious people want to remain close while chasing separate ambitions, a continent apart. She pondered her boyfriend and how her job was going to separate them. A low whistle made the smoke sculptures quiver, beckoning from the Lindbergh-Rutan sky dock. Boarding call, she realized. She sighed, then turned to go. Her reaction to the whistle did not go unnoticed. One nearby vendor tapped his specs, smiled and bowed. Bon voyage, Miss Tor, he said in a thick Yemeni accent. He must have scan correlated, found her on the Santos Dumont passenger list, and noted her modest local fame. Another shopkeeper, grinning, pressed a cluster of fresh flowers into her hand as she passed. A ripple of alerts flowed just ahead of Tor, like fluttering glow moths, and she found herself walking along a corridor of evanescent goodwill, arms filling with small impulsive gifts, and her ears with benedictions in a dozen languages. Half buoyed by a wave of sentiment for the town she was leaving behind, she made her way toward the terminal where a mighty zeppelin strained skyward. Tor, despite the perceptiveness of all her surrogate guardians, never realized that she was being followed all that time. Indeed, there was no reason that she should, for it was a ghost that made its way close behind, stalking her through familiar, neighborly paths of a global village. But outside the village, beyond its forest of tame overlays, murmured a jungle that her natural eyes could never see.